Hello, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we will be continuing on with the My Thoughts on My Team series, and here to break down the Green Bay Packers is Rich King. Thanks for joining me, Rich.
Anytime. I was pleased to get the invite.
All righty. You want to take a second here, tell everyone where they can find your work?
Yeah, so pretty much just at King Fantasy Sports now. I used to do a bit for Roto Baller and a little bit for Betting Pros, but with life being the way it is, I've kind of just consolidated my work just to King Fantasy Sports, which is the site that I run, and happy to have you on the team as well.
Yep. Thanks for the opportunity. Met you in Scott Fishbowl last year and somehow ended up on the team. That was an interesting turn of events. I think I've had half of that Scott Fishbowl division on this podcast. Had Fitzmaurice on last week and Kevin Roth and Tyler, I think, was in there. There was a couple others that I can't remember, but alrighty, let's get into it. Don't want to take up too much of your time here. We will bring up the Green Bay Packers, and I almost said Aaron Rodgers, but it's not. The quarterback room now is led by essentially rookie Jordan Love with Danny Etling as the backup. Jordan Love seems to be a total wild card. Nobody really knows what to make out of him. Former late first round pick, I believe.
Yep.
Could be Jalen Hurts, could be Jamarcus Russell, and everything in between. What do you think of the future for Jordan Love?
Well, the last two quarterbacks we've had for the Green Bay Packers have been Hall of Fame caliber, so I'm just assuming it's the same. Next guy up. No, but seriously, it's a really weird thing to say, but I'm kind of glad that we've moved on from Aaron Rodgers, because I kind of got a bit bored of the every off season the chat of, oh, am I going to retire? Am I not going to retire? It's kind of nice to just be able to draw a line in the sand and move on. Jordan Love, obviously, it's hard to really give him any real evaluation because we've not really seen him on the field outside of a handful of games. And I mean, one of those, I think, was a road game against the Chiefs, which is always a tough place to play. So, yes, it's going to be an interesting season. I think generally the team, it seems like, I mean, I'm sure we'll cover some of these guys as well, but in drafting Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, they've kind of tried to change this offense, I think, into more of a dink and dunk, over the top kind of offense, which should make it easier for Jordan Love to operate.
Yeah, he's a total wild card. I think I'm ranking him somewhere as a low end QB2, but he definitely has the potential and the upside there. Nobody really knows what to do with him. I think you're going to see the market really fluctuate on him based on how he starts the first 4 weeks of the season. He's either going to skyrocket and be a bona fide, fantasy quarterback, or he's going to be plummeting and everyone's going to try and bail out on their shares. Moving on to the running back room, we've got aging Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, who seems to be the breakout darling every year, who never really fully breaks out, Tyler Goodson, and Lou Nichols, the rookie, round out the depth chart. What do you think here, more specifically, Jones and Dillon? What are your thoughts?
I think that you're going to see Aaron Jones probably continue being effective in like PPR leagues, but in standard leagues, I think surely at some point it has to come good for AJ Dillon and the size of those quads. Like surely at some point that just that takes over. I think in standard leagues I could see him getting used more on the goal line. The real thing's going to be how Jordan Love gets on. Like we're probably going to come back to this point several times, but if Jordan Love is able to move the ball, then we'll see these two be effective. If not, and he starts struggling, then I think it could be a long season for these guys, and they're not going to give you the value that you'd necessarily expect from them in previous seasons.
How do you think it shakes out? 50-50 timeshare on the rushing, and Jones gets the majority of the receiving, or what do you think the split looks like?
I think it'll be pretty much that. It'll be like pretty even, I would say, on rushing, and Jones will keep his work as the main dump off option at the backfield.
Which could be undervalued as with a rookie quarterback. They do love to dump off when they panic. Could also be great for a rookie tight end. We'll talk about later. Jordan Love. He seems to have been on the bench for so long. I don't really remember his profile. Does he have a rushing upside, or is he going to be dumping off to Jones, or is he going to pull down the ball and run with it? What do you think?
I think he's more likely to start off the season, especially. I think he's more likely to be dumping off, just because I think they're going to really try and simplify the playbook for him. I can't see them wanting to give him too much freedom to really, run with it. I think they're going to want to kind of get him like penned into a bit of a corner and like regiment it a bit more, and then maybe kind of mid-season, if things are going well, then kind of loosen it up a little bit.
Alrighty, sounds like it might be a good opportunity for Aaron Jones, especially early on in the season. Moving on to the wide receiver room, we have Christian Watson. Actually, an interesting wide receiver room. Christian Watson was the breakout star for the team, kind of. Originally, it was thought to be Dobbs, who dealt with some injury and kind of was supplanted on the depth chart by Watson. Lazard has moved on. They drafted Dontavian Wicks. Samari Toure is still here. Bo Melton, the speedster, and Jeff Cotton, who I've never heard of, but somehow made the ESPN depth chart that I pulled this from. This looks like they're putting all their eggs in the Watson and Dobbs basket and praying maybe that Wicks comes through. What are your thoughts on these guys?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use these guys, because Watson and Doubs managed to be successful last year with Rodgers just being Rodgers and being able to throw the ball long out of nowhere. It'll be interesting to see if Jordan Love does the same thing. I personally think what they've done here is they've gone for a mix of speed with the wide receivers, and then they've got plenty of options that'll take that short field and in over the middle. So they Musgrave and Kraft, and I always forget how to pronounce the guy's name, but the tight end room will basically cover up the in amongst the middle. And I think Watson Doubs will be more the downfield options. One thing I will say is, if you drafting Christian Watson, like, he was great for fantasy, but his scoring streak was ridiculous, like this unsustainable. I think it was like a 15% receiving touchdown strike or something like that, which is absolutely insane. Like,
unsustainable.
It's like bounds out of where you'd expect anything to be. I mean, even Tyreek Hill is like absolute peak in the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, was like just around about double digits. But
that's going to come down too with Love instead of Rodgers. That'll balance out a bit.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Moving on to that tight end room, we have Musgrave. An interesting story here. Luke Musgrave is the first rookie profile I ever wrote, and it was for you guys. And I went there and I wrote it and I submitted it, and it popped up on the website, and I looked at it and I said, what the hell? So I messaged Tyler and I said, did Rich not like my work? I'm like, he pretty much took the beginning of it and rewrote every single thing I did and then published it. And it took me 2 or 3 days, hadn't heard back from Tyler, and I realized it was yours. We had both submitted a profile on Luke Musgrave, and I was reading your profile, not realizing we both signed up for the same player. So all that time I said, well, what the hell? Rich didn't like my work. Why did he rewrite it and just throw mine out? You didn't. You just did your own profile, and we both did them. So I ended up having to delete mine and taking Cameron Latu instead. But it was the funniest thing I've never seen. My first rookie profile ever, and I was like, well, crap, we both signed up for him. So
you're probably thinking, what an asshole as well, right? So, firstly, apologies for that.
No, it's your fault. But...
and I'll make sure we keep the tracking sheet.
No. It was on the tracking sheet. I signed up for him, but it looks like what happened was later on, you didn't see him on the sheet and you added him at the bottom for yourself.
Okay.
And then it was published and I said, what the hell? This is not my profile. And then I looked and I said, oh, it's literally not my profile. Somebody else wrote him up. So it was funny. I got a good laugh out of it eventually, but back to the tight end room. Musgrave will probably have to pick up some of the slack here. With kind of a young limited wide receiver room. Josiah DeGora and Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is someone else I really liked his rookie profile. I'm not sure why Green Bay drafted 2 tight ends. Maybe it's just for the overall lack of depth. But what do you think of these guys here?
I think it's interesting that they've brought those 2 in. I mean, I kind of like their profiles as like big bodies. That both can they're reasonably effective blockers. I think it kind of gives them a little bit more that they can do in terms of on the offense. Like Mercedes Lewis he's gone. It seems like this team is really trying to prioritize youth. That seems to be one thing that has happened this offseason.
Yep.
And I think getting into 2 tight ends, you're obviously giving yourself the opportunity to give Jordan Love a safety blanket and 2 safety blankets as well. So you can see who he gets on with more, who fits into the offense more, and kind of give him some sense of security and
Did I miss a wide receiver here in the draft? I feel like they added another receiver. Maybe it was just the 2 tight ends, because I was having a laugh saying the first year without Rodgers and they load up on tight ends and wide receivers, but
you did. We took Jaden Reed in the second.
Oh, the Jaden Reed saga continues. Good Lord, that's what it is. I had this earlier. I did a Denver Broncos podcast, and for some reason, my spreadsheets aren't formatting correctly. And when they reformat, I keep losing Jaden Reed off of this spreadsheet, and it keeps being pushed to Denver. And he came up in my Denver lineup. That's where it is. Okay, so Jaden Reed makes this a much more interesting room. And I definitely thought that when because I loved Reed. I was really high on him. And I thought, figures, Rodgers leaves and they draft 2 receivers and 2 tight ends. So Jaden Reed, that is the 3rd wide receiver I'm missing due to a stupid formatting error. I'm glad you remembered who it was, because I would have remembered after when I seen the formatting and the Jaden. This is my spreadsheet nightmare with Jaden Reed. I've saved it and corrected it 100 times, and it keeps doing it. So, what are your thoughts on Jaden Reed since I've skipped him?
I think, as you say, to me it feels a little bit like a knife in the back to Rodgers. That literally he's been screaming for us to draft some receiving talent for years and years, and then he eventually leaves, and then we use
second rounder
second on Musgrave and on Reed, and then a 3rd on Kraft. So
yep. They go all offense.
Little bit of a shot there, but no, I quite like his profile. I mean, to me, it gives it. This receiving room is going to be an interesting one, just in terms of like how it gels. Because when you look at it, there's no real alpha receiver there that you can just pin your hat on, right?
No.
Like, a lot of other receivers rooms, you have that one. Even in young receivers rooms, you have that one veteran who has been there, done it. And this, we don't have that. I mean,
well, he took them all to the Jets with him.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Watson's maybe the most experienced in that room.
It's crazy. What do you got? Bo Melton's. He's played 20 snaps. I feel. Touré's a special teamer. Dobbs was injured. Yeah, this is the most experienced pass catcher on the team is Aaron Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Jose DeGora, maybe.
Yeah, then it's a mad thing to think.
Yeah, it's young. It's a young roster aside from Jones.
It's a very young roster. We'll have to see how it gels. It'll be interesting. I think to start to see. I've not seen schedule's not out yet. It was for the international games, I think, only today. It'll be interesting to see how they start the season, because if they have some teams that are really going to get after the passer, this could get ugly real quick.
I like the trio of young receivers they have. The only problem, Watson seems to be going a lot higher than I'm willing to take. They seem to be drafting Watson right now at his ceiling. Jaden Reed is the same thing. Once he was drafted to the Packers, he seems to have shot up around in the rookie drafts, and I think they both have great potential. I'm just not too sure that I want to pay the price on them. Okay. Transitioning into the price tag here, based on where you think these guys are going to go in redraft, who is a player you're likely to be targeting?
I'll probably say either AJ Dillon, or I'll go for one of the tight ends, just because there's always a tight end who like always breaks out, and it could be a rookie tight end. Very unlikely, but I just think, as you said, Watson for me just feels like a risky one to do, and he's going to be one of those guys who's going to have maybe a good season overall, but you're not going to feel good about starting him any 1 week. Same with a lot of those receivers. So I think Aaron Jones is going to go high, probably too high for where I think he should go, based on like how many touchdowns I think he'll score.
Yeah.
So I think AJ Dillon didn't have a great season last year. Probably will start pushing back in terms of ADP, and then I might just take a punt on a tight end.
Yeah, for me it's probably Musgrave, but it would be Musgrave, except tight end, like you said, rookies are so unpredictable. It's probably Jordan Love in Superflex, especially. I think he's almost free, so why not take the shot and hope he develops into that Hall of Famer you're expecting? Avoid. Who is someone you'd like to avoid at their current cost?
I'm gonna say Aaron Jones, just because he's going to be. There's that name quality that means he's going to be quite high up on draft boards, and I think that he's not going to be able to play to that same level. I just think there's going to be far fewer scoring opportunities with Jordan Love leading this offense, particularly to start the season. And I always say, when you're in drafts, right, the first couple of rounds is not where you win your draft. It's just where you can potentially lose it.
Yeah.
Right. It's the middle and later rounds. That's where you win your league or
Absolutely.
your draft, right? So I feel like taking Aaron Jones isn't giving yourself a very tough ask to really be hitting on some of those mid and later round players.
Yeah. Well, where do you think they finish in the division? Second, third, fourth?
It's tough, right? Because the Vikings look great.
I like the Lions personally, but I'm right across from Detroit, so I could be a homer.
So the Vikings look good. Detroit, I like kind of their draft was a bit weird, but I kind of like what their team is doing. It seems like Jared Goff has really, caught a second wind up there. And then I don't know. I think my gut feeling is it will finish third or fourth.
All right, 8 wins last year, over, under, or the same this year.
Under.
Under? Yeah. What are you thinking? How many?
I'm gonna say just under. I'm gonna say 7. Like, I just think it's gonna be tough because we made, we didn't do too badly last year. Our schedule, I think, could be tougher, and the division's just got a lot better, I think.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I think all 4 teams could be in it or out of it. It's a real crapshoot. But all right, thank you very much for joining me, Rich. You want to take another chance here to tell everyone where they can find your work?
Yep. So you can find me at kingfantasysports.com, working with my great team. And on socials, you can find me at kfantasy_sports.
You work with me too.
I do,
you
yeah.
said you're a great team, but you forgot to talk about me.
I talked about you at the start, so I was.
I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
If I did it twice, then that seems a bit too much. Seems like a
overkill. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Didn't want to overkill it. I hear you. So
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been my thoughts on the Green Bay Packers with Rich King. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. This has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thank you, Rich, and thanks everyone for watching. Take care.